Prime Minister John Curtin led Australia through World War II, died in office just before the war was set to end. Prime Minister Ben Chifley died leader of the Labor Party after overseeing Australia's massive post-war reconstruction efforts. Jack Lang led New South Wales through periods of the Great Depression, then was pretty much cooed out of office by the Governor of New South Wales after refusing to go along with federal debt repayment measures that would deprive New South Wales of funds to pay its workers. He led the Labor Party for years after that event, attempting to bring it out of the wilderness. John Barilaro claimed under oath that he was cyberbullied out of office by a YouTuber half his age, then worked for Alameddine-linked property developers as a seat warmer until he got his other job, New York Trade Commissioner, which he created whilst he was in office. Gladys Berejiklian finally quit a year after a corruption probe exposed her secret relationship with a crooked MP, almost immediately taking a job at a telecommunications company that not even a year later suffered one of the largest hacks in Australian history. That was just a quick history lesson in the massive drop in calibre of the people running this country. I just wanted to sneak it in before I get into the main point of this video, which is, oh, what the f***, Optus? Everyone can now see my address, and they know I live in St Leonard's, which means they know I'm the most boring person on earth. F*** St Leonard's. Whilst the Coalition spent years passing laws demanding that everything you do be tracked and stored so law enforcement can access it whenever they want without a warrant, none of them ever seemed to consider what would happen if someone else accessed that data. What if the world's most evil man accessed that data and then used it to blackmail Spaniard into revealing his secret language? Expand your mind, mate. Then police use that info to prosecute Spaniard, and then we'd no longer have It's All Eats. Legitimately the best show on YouTube. That is not a joke, by the way. I'd be very fucking upset if that happened. To be clear, this massive Optus data hack that just happened didn't get any metadata, otherwise Berejiklian would be screwed. Good sites in Wagga Wagga to relocate Optus headquarters to. How they induce amnesia? Oh, I don't recall. The Count from Sesame Street. Nerd. Oh, she's a star for the cameras, but she doesn't fare well for surveillance. But this is just telling that the Liberals were in for 10 years and they didn't think of taking any measures to protect your information that they were forcing telcos to store. Labor is already looking at upping the fine for this sort of breach under the Privacy Act, which is now capped at around $2 million, which is nothing. It's about the shame you get billed by Optus if you leave your data on roaming when you go to Bali, am I right? Labor MP Peter Khalil, the head of the Joint Intelligence and Security Committee, he blamed the Libs for this hacking. Of course he would. Labor shill, saying that the Coalition didn't properly update the Telecommunications Act and the Critical Infrastructure Act in the 10 years it was in office. You know, to account for technological advancements. Just think about how much shit has changed since Abbott was elected. The same year he was elected, Sticky Fingers released their hit single Australia Street, and it was the vibe of Newtown. And now if your metadata was hacked and it was exposed that you still listen to Sticky Fingers, you'd be driven out of Newtown. No way would you be able to lax out on the lays on a real sunny day in Camperdown Park. Anyway, listen to this.
Let me tell you what the Minister for Home Affairs has been doing. She's been fixing up a problem that is partly of their making. The previous government, the Liberal government, decided to exempt telecommunication companies from the security of critical infrastructure laws. They made that decision. It enabled this attack. Now, Optus is responsible. But of course, you know that we live in a very dangerous neighbourhood. We all agree on that. And that decision, and of course the Minister for Communications was a former Optus executive, Paul Fletcher. So they left out the telcos because the telco said, oh, we've got this, we can handle it. But of course, that has meant that they have left not only the door unlocked in this dangerous neighbourhood when there's a rise of cyber attacks and cyber criminals and so on, they've left it wide open, they've left the back door open, and they've left the windows open.
Did you hear that? The man that decided to pretty much exempt Optus and other telco companies from the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, the act that regulates the security of critical assets. So you'd think that data would be included in that? He was a former Optus executive. From 2000 to 2008, right up until he entered Parliament, Paul Fletcher was the Director of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs at Optus. At least Gladys has the courtesy to wait until after she was under investigation for corruption to work at Optus. Instead of telcos being regulated entirely by the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, the weaker Telecommunications Act overrides it when there's an overlap. And still, The coalition led by Dutton has come out of the situation and thought instead of attacking Optus or working constructively with the government, to absolve themselves of some of the guilt they should feel over 10 years of inaction, 10 years of making like sticky fingers and laxing out on the lays, why don't we pick a fight with Labor over this? I gotta hand it to them. They are creative. They really think outside the box in order to criticise Labor over the pettiest shit. Watch this. Home Affairs and Cybersecurity Minister Claire O'Neil went on the ABC to lay the facts out on this hack, essentially saying, no, Optus are wrong. It wasn't a difficult hack. It could have been prevented.
You certainly don't seem to be buying the line from Optus that this was a sophisticated attack.
Well, it wasn't, so no.
In response to this, the Draco Malfoy to Dutton's Voldemort, Senator James Paterson said, watch this.
On the 7:30 report last night, the Minister for Home Affairs effectively accused Optus of misleading the public when Optus has said this is a sophisticated attack and she said, in fact, it's a very basic attack. Now, I'm aware of the facts that led the Minister to reach that assessment, and I agree with her assessment. And it is appropriate, if she believes that Optus has misled the public, for her to be very candid with the Australian public about that. So I welcome her comments. However, what she hasn't yet done is explain to the public the facts that she's aware of, which has led her to make that assessment. And I think the Australian people deserve to know, within the appropriate bounds, without revealing any classified intelligence or information, of course, Optus users in particular are entitled to understand if it is the case that Optus is misleading them about the severity of attack. That's a very serious accusation for a federal minister to make, and it's important that it's substantiated.
James, are you crazy? You just said you knew the information she relied upon. What information does she need to disclose? What was she relying on to say it wasn't a sophisticated hack? The hackers themselves allegedly boasted about how easy the hack was. Looking at their grammar, you know it's not a sophisticated attack. If you're still in doubt, go to your local FBI gaming cafe and ask anyone playing StarCraft there if the hack was difficult. Guarantee you they'll say it's much harder for them to muster the social courage to answer you than to perform a hack like that. Look, to be clear, I don't know shit about tech, but this is shit that all the people in my life that go to FBI gaming are saying. All I could say is, thank God these losers aren't in now. Whilst Labor are forcing Optus to pay for new driver's licenses and demanding Optus cooperate by supplying information about the hack to them, the coalition haven't offered anything constructive apart from the usual, it's Labor's fault. I mean, it beggars belief when some of their own colleagues have had past experiences with data breaches. What's the bet that when the new Labor cabinet was walking into the cabinet room and the Liberals were walking out, Barnaby Joyce just did a fart and, oh, it stinks! Why'd you fart, Labor? Oh, it's all your fault, this is gross. Now, come see my show wherever it is. You go look it up yourself. I can't be bothered to tell you all of that. You want to hear my impression of Hamish MacDonald? Hello, my name's Hamish McFonald. I was trying to make him sound dumb, but I was too dumb to do it. I'm on project. I suck. So make sure you like and subscribe if you thought that was cool.
Please share and comment below. Comment.